What's up, beautiful people? This episode of the podcast is sponsored by Born to Rise. Born to Rise is an incredible foundation that offers a platform for regular people to share their heartfelt stories of how they overcame hardships and traumas. Born to Rise hosts annual events with guest speakers from around the world to come here in Montreal and talk. They are planning to expand across Canada. For more information, visit borntorise.net and stay connected with such a powerful cause. There's a big Born to Rise event coming up in the next few months in Montreal. If you're around the area, check out borntorise.net, get your tickets, and come and see what this event is all about. Are you tired of wearing the same old boring clothes? Don't you want clothes that represent something that you're passionate about, or just something that makes you and your friends laugh? Then go check out stylishremix.shop. They have super awesome t-shirts, hoodies, socks, and pillows with funny puns, movie references, and cute avocados to brighten up your wardrobe and make your style unique. Use the code name Chimps10 and save 10% off any and all purchases. If you're looking for maybe a shirt for someone who's going through something, or you went through something personal, whatever, they have a nice shirt on stylishremix.shop. It says, "No storm will last forever." It's always a nice little reminder to show you and to remind you that whatever you're going through or they're going through, it can feel like it's an eternity, but remember that it only lasts for a short period of time or a long period of time, but it's not forever. So sometimes just wearing it, having a quote like that around will motivate and inspire and maybe even help. So go order yours today with the code CHIMPS10 on stylishremix.shop and save 10% off your purchase. Welcome to Curious Chimps Podcast. I'm Nathaniel Pearl.
And I'm Sami Sheva.
And welcome.
We here at Curious Chimps are law-abiding citizens. We do not endorse anything illegal. And anything we discuss is for entertainment and not information purposes. We are not experts, and nor do we claim to be. So please, consult doctors, do your research, read the label, and for the love of all that is holy, be safe. All right, let's talk about drugs.
Curious Chimps.
When we had Voice on, when I first met him, I
Mr.
told
Steven
you,
Voice.
yeah, he was a great dude.
I can't wait to have him back on.
Yeah.
He was so fun.
Yeah,
I didn't
sick.
expect that. Like, it was really fun to talk, just to chill with him. Like, it was
He's
great.
a fun dude. But when I first met him, it was literally, we were mixing a song together, and this guy was recording in his booth. The guy had like a sound booth at his basement.
Sure. Oops.
And there was like a small door opening and closing, like under all the layers.
Oh, you told me this story once.
Yeah,
You
I said on the
could
podcast.
Fucking hear it, yeah.
But like I'm telling you, it was under all the layers. It was like the first recording, and there was like 7 recordings over it, like the voiceover, like you know those little sounds you put in, you add on to the main vocals, and there's just like a little. So he's like, wait, what's that? So we stop it. He starts peeling all the layers, and then you get down. All you hear is just like a, you know, that like dead feed sound, like that. He's like, that's got to go, and I was blown away, man. I'm like, there's levels to this fucking game.
Didn't he
commented on it?
Yeah. But didn't he have a similar story?
It was that story. Yeah,
That was
we
that
were talking.
Okay, no,
about
I thought you were talking about you.
No, that was for Voice.
Okay, no, I'm like mixing you guys up now.
Yeah,
But you do look
that was
alike.
that was Voice, man. I was just amazed at the attention to detail that guy has.
Yeah, that's insane.
But like a fine-tuned ear to really.
It's almost genetic. It's like when I was born with crazy smell and hearing, and like you can't like if you watch like that Sherlock Holmes movie with Robert Downey Jr. and he can identify smells, it's like that's practice. Anyone with any kind of sense of smell, and some people are like smell blind or whatever that term is, but like if you can like sense oregano, then you can like take it 3 times and just say oregano in your head or something, like 7 times, and then next time you'll make that association. So there's this sensation documentation you can do, and that can be that's learned, 100% learned. And it helps with memory because of association with language and all that. But just being able to sense certain things, like you can't. I don't think you can really improve that. All you can really do is maybe improve your listening. You know, like if your hands are all calloused and shit, and someone goes with like a feather and you just can't feel it. Maybe there's still some pressure being felt and you can really focus, you know, but I don't know, like that sound that he heard, maybe he was like feeling it in his chest Like it was barely even in his ears. Like it's hard for him to even explain.
But he's addressed it so many times that he knows that feeling something's wrong in the audio.
But it depends on the sound too. That sound was just like this clack, and there was something low about it, and he heard it, and it was probably offbeat also. It's something, a combination of things. Just it was like red flags. Yeah. Anyway,
I wonder if that's learned though. I mean,
I'm sure it's a mix.
Yeah, because
it's always a mix.
In massage, like I was reading a book about how to improve your touch. Yeah. This is a fascinating book, and it was like
put people with X-ray hands there. Like I love that terminology.
Yeah, and what you would do is you put a piece of hair under a couple pages, and you just with your eyes closed, you go over the pages till you feel that hair, and then once you feel the hair, you go under another page. You just keep adding a page, and the guy in the book is like, you could add up to like 100 pages, and you'll still feel that fucking hair.
That's intense.
Yeah. So I was practicing that. I think I got to like 10 to 15 pages. It was really cool.
You've been doing it for like 5 years now, man.
It's growing, yeah. Forget how long it's been, you know. It's just a part of me now.
Well, it's a time and repetition, right? We always say it. So the more time passes, if you used it wisely, fuck, man. Yeah. Like I'm at the same level I was with massage, and obviously a little lower also. But there's like it's such a low level now that it's like I understand some of the basics, and I remember some of the moves, and I can just perform at that level. I don't think I'll lose that much for like 10 years, you know. But those subtle skills, like that other 20% that you've been gaining, that's you could feel the hair under fucking 20 pages eventually.
It's some weird shit though, because like when I was doing osteo, we'd just do classes where we just have our hands on the body. And we just have your hands on the body, but don't move. Just like the most subtle of touches, and you're just feeling the body, like forgetting your intention or like, oh, I want to do this technique. Just feeling the body. What's the body telling you? And when that happens, it's like the amount of information that you tap into. It's kind of nauseating.
That's Reiki level, or like the warmth and the despair, like the difference of warmth, the maybe even the shape of the spine. Just by where your bony landmarks
everything, man. The way the breathing, the way it's inhaling and exhaling, you start to feel the fucking blood flow, and that's when it's like
that's fucked
you
up.
kind of back out. You're like, whoa, okay, you know.
Yeah. And you have like a daredevil moment. Yeah. And you just like like you know those movies where like a vampire becomes a vampire, and they start like seeing and hearing everything like times 100. It's like that. They see somebody and they can like practically smell the blood inside the human, and they're like. I have to leave now.
You ever seen those sound deprivation, like super soundproof rooms that they've created? And it's like you go in and like
it's so
the
quiet.
Story is so many people get like terrified and run out, but it's really just so quiet that you eventually hear your own blood flow, which is nuts.
Ash, what's his name there?
He was talking about Ash Dykes.
Yeah, that was a good podcast on JRE.
What was he saying? Where was he?
I don't remember.
Was it a cave or something? No.
I can't recall.
Okay.
It was like it was out in nature. I remember it wasn't one of those like sound.
Just dead silence.
Rooms,
where he heard his own blood circulation.
Yeah, it was like completely silent, and they were saying how like it's never silent, and then he realized like there was this sound like this like whooshing or something, and he realized it was his body. I don't think he knew exactly what the sound was, but he realized like your body's really noisy, and you don't notice until like, dude, imagine when it's really quiet, and you just go like this, like. You know, like you just touch your teeth touch, or you just go, you know, like a normal something, or like your eyes a little dry, so when you blink, it just does like a little like a little something. And if it's dead silent, you just can't stop hearing that. Every time you move,
you'll hear everything.
Crickling, crackling, your clothes, everything feels amplified. Those rooms, the bottom is like hollowed out, and then there's like sound killing material as well, or maybe not all of them. Okay. But it's really cool to think that like it's just like there's these 3 or 4 rooms now, I think, on the whole planet, and they're like the quietest spots in the universe possibly, because they're like built for, I don't know, I guess like
that's wild.
What would be quieter than that?
I wonder what it'd be like to go in there. I would love it. I think some LSD and jump in there.
Oh my god, heroic dose in the quietest room on earth. 5 dry dude, dark room, but like sound dark also. Like there's just nothing. That might actually be nice. Because you ever been tripping in your room on those 5 dried grams, and then like a car passes by and it rips you out of your fucking experience.
I usually
like
go up north when we do that.
Okay, no, man. If I'm like tripping balls and then suddenly there's just a door closes or you hear like like someone outside or footsteps because it's snowy, or like a police siren goes off. 100 thoughts, fucking like drill into your mind suddenly, like bees, like wasps stinging you from the outside, and you're like, ah!
That happened in a ceremony once. One of my first ceremonies, day 2, we drank ayahuasca, and then we do it when the sun's still out, it's just setting, and the second day usually it's like a chiller vibe. So the sun finally sets, and then all you hear is and the neighbors are shooting fireworks or something. And I just remember I'm like in my trance, and I'm like, what's going on? The whole place is shaking because sound is just flying at you.
Oh man.
So they ran outside. They told them to shut the fuck up.
It's like the equanimity argument doesn't fly now. It's like, look, we have a room of people tripping. I am literally on ayahuasca right now. Can you please stop doing this?
Yeah, and then they did, thank God. But like I remember that was
I don't know. Like
they're connected. It's just, I guess, poor timing.
That's funny, man. Because the ceremony and a lot of drug trips, I think they're just entirely filled with those moments. But there's it's like that, plus it's like unexpected. There's that little extra sink in the stomach for me. I don't know, like people have different levels of anxiety and certain worship of the feeling of peace or pleasantness, so I just it takes me out of it but into it. I don't know how to say it really, but it's nerve-wracking, and I kind of accept it as part of
you're a more experienced psychonaut, you kind of the power of equanimity carries on to more acceptance of things.
It's funny, like I didn't have a word for it, a context for it until Vipassana, but I definitely had to cultivate something similar, like just from being in just. Excuse me, I had to burp. Just like being young and throwing myself into situations, being like feeling indestructible, sort of, and being like, I wonder what will happen with my safety, with my life, with my social standing, with my relationships. You just take a drug and you're like, let's go to grandma's 80th. Let's go take an exam. Let's let's be on ecstasy and go into class, let's go, let's smoke some weed and
thank God
go fucking skiing, or like, it's just all one thing after the other.
Thank God I was well read on this subject before jumping into it. like I mean, our first trip I ever did on mushrooms, we went to a motel on Saint Jacques Street. That wasn't a good one, but it was like not enough to fuck you up. It was like 2 grams, just enough to like open that door to peak, but controlling it a little bit. But that was a terrible setting.
I think a lot of us, I can't picture myself getting older and not having experienced these, like in my youth and in my ignorance, and feeling comfortable trying them. There's so much coming out now that's making it seem safer or even beneficial, and all these things like that we talk about often. But me personally, I would have there's so many ideas that I grew up with about drugs, and I firsthand destroyed those stereotypes, if you will, and a lot of other people, even though this intellectual information is like, if you look for it, it'll bombard you. There's so much science and evidence and such a different perspective that's growing.
I feel like it's coming out daily, all these articles. Like,
I've been sharing. The bad word. It's been there. It's coming out of hiding. It's true. Like a part of humanity. It's like how English people don't understand or don't think about it or don't picture all these other humans that have never spoken English, that have an entire other life, another context, essentially live on another planet. Like a whole different world. It's the same gravity. You have a body and a consciousness, but that's all the fucking similarities you have. Maybe the similar technologies, obviously, but there's something similar there. It's like a whole other world. This Amazonian traditions. What? We go to the Amazon as a knee jerk, but it's every fucking part of the world. There's fucking
whatever in Africa.
There's there's all these names popping in my head. I can't even pick one. Peyote.
It's all over.
A lot of stuff, let's say in the that Middle America section, the Americas in general, South, North and South.
Yeah.
In the Asian cultures and the European cultures, I don't know as much, but there's definitely a lot of that pagan vibe with there's a lot of mushroom lore.
In the Middle East, it was what was it? Opium? Was that it, or there was a?
I guess so.
There's always a substance when you strip back culture to its original form. There's some type of mystic experience through a substance or something.
Weed was everywhere, by the way.
The Egyptians were smoking weed hardcore, man.
Humans made sure that shit would grow everywhere.
I think recently they found weed buds or seeds in like a tombstone of like some fucking mummy or something.
It's like the fourth time I hear, and it's like different stories every time.
Yeah,
they're like, oh, it's like super old.
It's
like,
fucking ancient.
Do you realize this is GMO? Like this, like we made this what it is.
Yeah,
you know, it's the most useful. It's like the human plant.
I was telling my girlfriend, it was like,
get off the soapbox about weed.
I was telling my girlfriend, like, in this moment in history, we've put a label on all these things that are bad, but like we're in this moment of whatever 100 years of these laws or whatever. But these medicines like ayahuasca, peyote, you know, have been practiced thousands of years. But we're in this timeline, in this little blimp of reality. We're like, no, that's fucking illegal. That's a drug. That's not good for you. But we're funneling everything that's fucking made us into this little moment of our ethical law, whatever you want to call it, saying that this is no good.
And it's not natural law, which like this guy Mark Passio talks about a lot. And it's like a lot of our man-made laws are actually going against natural law, and we're just like, in one way or another, if we're fighting natural law, we're dooming ourselves. We're damaging something periodically, and it can be irreparable. I mean, we see it in some more overt ways in our current society. Obviously, you know, every hot button topic is something is illegal that shouldn't be, or something is legal that should be, and it's all profit based and all that stuff. We don't need to get into it.
Yeah.
We don't even know the full story, to be honest. But it's there, and it's weird. It should be talked about constantly, because this zeitgeist thing is a powerful idea. There's a mentality, a mob mentality, even in a practical sense, like in psychology, that's a useful topic. There's this power, there's this energy when we get into a group and we don't even notice it. Sometimes it's obvious, sometimes it isn't, even from the third person perspective, even from the outside perspective. And sometimes there isn't an outside perspective. Some of those mob mentalities are global.
Yeah.
Not a lot of them, I don't think, but they're still, it's maybe not global, but it's, you know,
it's
like
almost
countrywide, or
it's big,
or there's just a type of person, a belief, you know, like now with the internet, it gets a little squirrely in terms of location and geography, but it needs to be addressed and readdressed, because we don't realize how these weird unconscious thoughts are running our lives all the time. We talked about it a lot in the past also, in some recent podcasts.
And we have these presets that were given by society where we grew up, and it's like these programming presets and biases and fears that we just operate on. And it's like something as simple as talking about mushrooms,
like the fear of death.
Yeah,
we can segue into that.
Fucking yeah,
we wanted to talk about,
dude,
just death
in general, man. We'll get into that, because that's part of our programming, is this constant fear of death that you hear, and the news uses that against us, which is crazy. They manipulate the public with the fear of death. And I was saying this to my girlfriend the other day, I'm like, the news makes the world seem like it's like this crazy, chaotic, gun fucking violent area where it's the wild, wild west and everyone's shooting everyone. But I asked her, I'm like, thank God, at least in this side of the world where we are, like, I'm blessed every day that how much negativity and violence are you bumping into on a day-to-day basis? You know,
fucking zero.
Like, pretty close to zero. I mean, someone flips me off when we're driving, like, that's normal, but that's like,
even that though is gonna get your blood pumping. Like, I had like let's call him a cousin from Italy, and he's from Sicily, and we were talking about like times we got into a fight, and he just had story after story, and I got in a fight in my life like 4 or 5 times maybe, if I think about it. And it's like some of them like he kicked my ass instantly, or I kicked his ass instantly. It's not even a fight, you know. It's like not a brawl, let's say. And him, it's like I just ask him, like, how many fucking fights you got into in your life? And he's like, oh man, you know, like I don't know, like 3 a year minimum.
Wow.
And I'm just like, that doesn't sound like a lot, but that's so much more than me. And imagine growing up that way.
Yeah. It's
not just like you become 21 and everyone starts kicking your ass, you know. It's like he lives in this part of the world that's just aggressive.
Yeah. And
he said also, this is a funny random side thought, but he said it's just something about his face also. He's like, I don't know, man. They say I look stupid, but I'm not stupid, you know. So they think they can be tough with me, and then I, you know, like, and he has, because he's like, his English was limited, but he had this funny Italian way of like smacking the sky, like smacking the air, and but that was respectful. That's what he was explaining to me. Also, he goes, I'm not gonna punch him right away. I'm gonna backhand him as a warning. I'm gonna give him a nice slap. I'm gonna go, I'm a big guy. You think I look stupid?
Yeah.
I can still put you on your ass, you know. Like he's very defensive about it. He was young though, you know. He's still a kid. He's like younger than 20.
Sometimes that might need a humbling experience.
He was a good guy though. Yeah. He's got an open mind. He's just young, I think. Anyway,
I mean, when I was, at that age, man, I was this ego-driven kid. Thank God, martial arts smashed me back down to reality.
It's 1 in a million that's not ego-driven. You know, it's like your ego is still growing a lot, and then you're starting to, like, you are the ego. You're the fucking id. You're like, in the psychological sense, you're gathering. You're like, oh, I'm totally this. I need to build this identity. I need to be this. And there's not a lot of forethought. You know, I still don't have a lot of forethought, and I'm gonna be 32 soon.
But that's also, I think, the younger you are, it's the less you're thinking of death, or the idea of death is not even a concept in your mind at that age. You were talking before about that feeling of being invincible. It's like, I remember I'm way more cautious now than I've ever been. Like, I would do such careless things when I was younger that clearly I'm here today to say the story, but very unaware of the consequences of some things I would do. And I think it's just over time, with the more years on you and getting closer to that countdown, you kind of just realize, holy shit, this time is coming to an end at some point.
We're kind of lucky too that we're like bouncy when we're young, you know. Like I learned a lot of lessons, and it's like half luck and half like resilience. You know, like I cracked myself on a trampoline and I could have died. I almost got hit by a car. Those are two different instances.
Yeah.
Like my mom saved me. Like this asshole would have run me over, and she grabbed me by the hoodie and like yanked me at the last second. And like, okay, I would have been like concussed or like really damaged or possibly dead. It's not about bouncing back. You don't learn anything. You're just dead. Yeah. But like I got scared straight in that moment. So it was like a good moment for me to look both ways now. But like for the rest of my life, it like stained my brain, you know, flashbulb memory. But the trampoline thing, it's like, I know my limits more now. There's no limits argument. It's just ignorance when you're talking about the first story. Yeah. But the second story, it's like I was trying something new and I didn't do it right and I got hurt. And now I have to, if I ever want to try that again, I have to build up to it again. And with that momentum, I have to step back a little bit and be careful and really build the layers really slowly now. No ego, no fucking macho, nothing. Like really be careful. Well, because I'm getting older. Because I twisted an ankle fucking 5 years ago. That still feels weird, you know? Yeah. Like,
think of that relationship we have with death, though. It's like we do all these things with understanding, I guess at an unconscious level, understanding that the worst case scenario is death. Therefore, do this with precaution. You know, you're not going to go on the trampoline and just do like a crazy fucking cartwheel flip, because you know at some level, if you go wrong, you can pass away and die right at that moment. So it's like we have all these things that we do on a day-to-day basis are, at some level, death is a thought process that goes on. Whether it's crossing the street, we look both ways because we know the worst case scenario is I get killed.
But this is an argument people have against a lot of things like religion, where you suppress something like sex, like old school Christianity. I'm saying it's not so prevalent nowadays, but this idea of like suppressing a drive. And maybe there's something about death that's a drive for humanity. A lot of animals don't understand that they're going to die. That's like a philosophical identification of humanity. You know, it's like we're the thing that knows. We're Homo sapien. That's what that means. But knowing that we know there's all these repercussions. There's all this meta stuff. But we know that we're going to die, and there's a real damage to suppressing that. It fucks with our entire machinery as a society, as an individual, you know, up and down and long ways. I can't even fully put my finger on it, but it's like there's all these mechanisms of gratitude and appreciation. There's something beautiful in somber moments, you know. There's something just real about life that we're missing. It's, you know, that's the best way of putting it. In the end, in a flat sense, it's just a lie. We're just missing the truth. And then there's a lot of repercussions there. But maybe it just starts with like wanting to protect children. Maybe there's nothing so like genuinely evil or like consciously evil about it. And maybe something like the news, like we can get into conspiracies and how things are imposed on us, but there is also just this reaction thing and useful idiots, you know, there's just something that happens because like the news, they want our attention, and something that gets our attention is the fear thing because of just how humans work.
I don't think of it as a conspiracy. I think it's that it was tested and that's what the market responded to.
Exactly. It's like a bubble.
But it's like this dark, but in the end of the day, they are the controllers of what they're putting out, and they can, in a sense, dictate what the market will want. You know, it's like...
Yes, that's it. But they're going to be the outliers, or they're going to be at the forefront, and they're going to lose the money, essentially. So some brave assholes have to come out and be like, hey, let's be positive. And then it's like, some people need that. Some people gravitate towards that, and then they forget about it 10 seconds later. And then it's like, oh, a bomb went off in New York, and you don't even realize. You're like, oh, I need to know this. What if a bomb goes off? Oh, who do I know in New York? All these your ideas just start flooding. Fear is such a natural human thing, and we're doing what we do with all natural human things. We're monetizing it.
Yeah.
It's the drug thing. It's the sugar, salt, fat. It's the psychological sugar. Our bodies just respond to it in a way that we don't to happiness, and that's why you see all these articles. You know, like if you look more into it, it's really interesting. But the flashy title is like gratitude rewires your brain. Yeah. And it has to, because we are literally just never grateful. It's like the first time in my life I actually feel gratitude for like the last couple of years, because I don't know, like I had a selfish upbringing. I had everything I needed. I had no reason. And then when things were taken away, I wasn't grateful when they came back. I was just mad while they were gone. And then when they came back, I was like, okay, everything's normal now. Like it's like an entitlement. Ooh, that's cool. Maybe there's like a societal entitlement. Yeah. That's a whole other can of worms.
Yeah, but
we're not even entitled to life. That's the point that I'm trying to, that's that death, man.
It's interesting, man. It really is. And it's just, I've been navigating on Twitter a lot these days. And I never do that.
I feel bad for you, son.
I never do that. And it's like the first thing I do in the morning, I'll go and click the news and trending, and it's just fucking negative story after negative story after negative story. And I've been doing this for 2 weeks now. Every morning I wake up, I check Twitter right away. And I started noticing that I'm being more anxious in my day-to-day life, like just stressed about things that don't even matter, you know? So then I did a rapé ceremony Sunday night, and I did a dose for myself, and it was a big one, and it was like a fucking, like a wind of a voice came through my ear and it says like, it's enough with the Twitter. Just like that. And it floated away. And then I started laughing.
And done, just stop using Twitter.
It was kind of like that. And I was just laughing to myself. I'm like, wow. Like because I was kind of watching myself from a bird's eye view as you're in the rapé state. And
totally know what you mean.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm just laughing at myself. I'm like, you're looking through Twitter. What are you trying to find here? There's nothing there. You know, it's just you're just stressing yourself out of nothing. And I think it's like when everything's going good, your mind or something in your fucking gut bacteria or something wants to make chaos. You know, it's like,
dude, that's actually true. Like they've done studies about how people like if you have less danger in your life, you seek more, you do more dangerous, you act more dangerously.
Because you can't be content with things going well. It's the strangest thing.
Yeah, it's like you have, like maybe you at some point in your life you had like a meter for how safe you feel and how safe you can feel getting away from that bar of safety, and then there's something fun about that, or let's just say exciting to be more objective, and then that if that's not being fulfilled, then it's like you just have this, that's the bar for you. It's like almost like a biological thing, like I don't know. I could think of my childhood and think like I grew up with fucking machines, man. Yeah. You know, like I had ski-doos and my friend had sea-doos, and we had forests we had motorbikes, we had four-wheelers. Like I had some fun. I had some adrenaline when I was a kid. Now if I'm bored at work for like a month, I start burning reds and shit on the street. Like I keep it in check because I know it's a mechanism now because of these studies, but I never would have been conscious of that otherwise.
What is that? Is that like some type of gut bacteria or something.
I hope so. It's just something inside you that's like, hey, we need adrenaline.
I feel like it is. Like recently I've been on the keto diet, so like I've been cleaning out my system, and that voice, that like craving voice, is kind of disappearing, like the craving for like junk food and all this stuff. But for a while it was like a weird internal dialogue. I'm like, there's more than just Nathaniel talking. There's like this, I'm like a host of, and it's proven that you're a host of a bunch of bacteria that can dictate how your mind functions. So I wonder if like when things are going good, there's like some type of bacteria that you've been hosting that just wants chaos or something.
Maybe it's not, maybe it's more of a spiritual structure, you know, like the not spiritual is not even the right word there. It's like let's say your organs are sending you a message. It's so complicated. It's like those are a grouping of cells, and the cells are a grouping of molecules, and like, you know, like it's all this attachment to make these higher functions. And then the brain is like your actual only sense organ, if you will. And all like it sends out some kind of hormonal something, some kind of molecule, or it has some kind of receptors, and it reaches the organ that like in question, like the liver or whatever, I don't know. Or the liver sends something out, and then it circulates and comes back, and then you have this like you have like a conscious information where you're like, I need a banana or whatever, I don't know. So there's, when you start pulling things away and you start hearing these voices, like the same thing with the Twitter. I mean, like you're pulling a lot away when you do rapping.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I've said it in the past, like when I'm flipping through Facebook, a lot of it is very positive stuff. Like I've worked to kind of whittle my feed into something a little more useful. It's a lot of friends that I'm actually keeping up with, and it's a lot of art, and it's a lot of funny stuff or psychedelic things, you know, like, but it's just that there's an anxiety and just next, but it's next with Twitter, plus it's just all like, it's fear, it's
chaos,
hate, it's this guy killed this guy, and this guy fell off a thing and died, and then now the wife this, and it's that's horrible feelings.
Yeah.
And you're not really processing any of them consciously.
So when you pull away, you're seeing the work in the background happening.
Yeah. It's like, so that's what I meant in a spiritual sense. It's like you're taking pieces of stuff, like this is just in like the space of thoughts, let's say. And that becomes a kind of organ. That becomes like a thing that is sending messages to you now on its own.
Yeah. So
now you have this space inside taken up by something that requires fear or functions on fear. So naturally, just kind of once the absence is there, this ethereal organ starts sending you messages like, where's the fear at? On a very biological sense, you just feel a change, and it manifests as some kind of voice.
You know what it is? When you go deeper than that, it's just you develop a craving for that stimulus.
Yeah.
That's what it really comes down to. You know, it's like Vipassana, when you unprogram the sankharas that you're growing every day. It's just another one of those things that you've grown accustomed to and desired for.
Repetition works
in all ways.
Yeah, all ways, both
good
ways.
and bad, or whatever.
Maybe there's a neutral, like juggling.
Yeah.
Like, is juggling good for you? Maybe it's good for your hand-eye coordination. Expands the brain a little bit, but it'll fuck your elbows up if you do it too much. I don't know.
There's a positive and negative to everything, I guess.
That's yeah, I guess so.
But that's so that
yin and yang. We're so deep.
But that's what I love about Rapé is, for those who never tried it, like we've said it so many times on the podcast. So if you want to know what it is, you got to go back to the beginning. But just for the sake of it, it's just Amazonian snuff tobacco.
We blow a fucking powder up our nose, and it's like coffee for the soul, baby. I don't know how else to say it.
That's a good way of putting it.
It's like it puts you in your body, but there's this clarity, and you find yourself, maybe depending on how you feel or depending on the type of Rapé, depending. You are kind of in your body as a whole. So there is this feeling that you're in that third person perspective now.
Yeah.
You're kicked out a little bit.
It strips you of the bullshit. You know,
yeah.
All the stimulus around you is just gone, and it's literally a direct phone line with yourself.
Yeah.
You know, you pick it up and you're talking on the other end.
And like we were saying before, there's something a little like almost disgusting about coming down from that and starting to feel the carpet, feeling the wood under your feet, or feeling the puking, feeling the phone goes off, you know, the lights change. you don't want anything to change in that moment. Anyway,
Yeah.
I'm just bringing it back to that thought before.
It's just pure awareness, and then you come back into your like your body, and everything's you're like that hyper aware state is focusing back inwards.
It's almost like that disharmony you were talking about earlier. There's just this woo, you know, and it's clean, and then it starts woo, 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 and you're like, you know, you're losing it. You know, you can't really do anything to make it stay, and there's like a second ooh, and it's you accepting that it's not staying. It's that equanimity.
Yeah.
That's the real fucking tone that we need to focus on. This is a side thought. This is a
Yeah.
complete side thought. I apologize. It's
Makes
just a
sense,
cool
though.
context for equanimity.
And yeah, so when you do the rapé though, it puts you in such an honest state, man. And it's like, and I see it with everyone I serve. It's and when I do it, it's always the same. It's like when you take rapé, you go into this hyper state of awareness where you feel and hear everything in the most intimate way to yourself.
Internally, yeah. There's no reason not to meditate right after you do. Like,
Yeah.
there's no reason. That is what that drug is for, in my opinion.
Exactly.
You don't have to sit in that traditional sense, but like
In any set, lying down, you're going to meditate. It just puts
walking
you in
around.
that state.
I don't know. There's something. It's like a stone falls in the water and just hits the bottom so fast.
Yeah, and
And
if
you're
you
the
go
stone,
into
I
it,
guess.
if you go into it without resistance, you are listening to exactly what you need at that moment.
Yeah,
It's
'cause
like
it's there.
Yeah,
You just can't hear it
yeah.
because you're busy.
When you're thinking of tomorrow or yesterday, but Rappi puts you in right now, and it's like the guy I served, and I've been where he's been, and it was funny to hear him say it because I was there. He's like when he was doing the Rappi, he was like in a state, and then he's like a voice was coming in my ear saying like, stop eating the shitty food, stop eating the shit. And I've told you how many times I've had that on Rappi, and it's nothing supernatural. It's literally yourself talking to yourself without any of the filters and bullshit from around you. It's like, just like I said before, it's a direct phone line to yourself.
I would describe it as like there's no more interference, and then you pick up on your body, and then like the first things that come out, they just make so much sense. But it's like this little tension in your core, which is very
Heaviness.
sensitive because you probably puked a little bit, you know, or something in your back, or something in your neck muscles, and most people know what they can do to feel better, or they know what they did that makes them not feel good in that moment, and you were ignoring it because it was just noise. And your brain's really good at like muting the stuff that's on repeat, let's say. So suddenly it's there, and again manifests as a voice for a lot of people, and it's like a clear, like a thought or a message, and it almost feels like it's not yours, but you're right, it's totally just you going like, oh, maybe don't eat McDonald's, you douche. You know, like maybe do some fucking sit-ups.
Yeah, man. And it's so easy to be dishonest to ourselves because we can hold ourselves accountable, or we can just brush that under the rug. It's like we have that option.
The ego doesn't like being bruised, man.
Yeah.
As far as I can tell with my reality tunnel, you know, as if I poke too hard, too fast, too much, it goes fuck you, you know. It puts the walls up, and it realizes it's like an animal, I guess, like a thing. I'm attacking it, and it starts getting very defensive.
Yeah, it's true.
And it just hardens and becomes harder
Unpenetrable.
So it's like, okay, I got to ease myself into things.
Ease into, what is it? Lean into your edges.
I like that.
Yeah, that's
Ease
yours.
into effort.
Ease into effort. Yeah. Oh, another yoga teacher, Andre, who's probably going to be on next episode. He says in class, lean into your edges. I love that.
It's perfect.
Yeah.
I always have this analogy in any walk of life where we're all kind of lost, and we're like blind in this metaphorical sense, and we're touching the edges, and we're finding out like, oh, that's stairs. You know, like maybe you got to fall down those stairs to remember where the fuck they are, and hopefully you live, and you go, okay, I know where those stairs are now. You know, or sometimes you touch fire or like a spiky bush, or like I don't know, but you get hurt, and you go, oh, okay, I know where that is now. So the wisdom in something like yoga is feel your body, find those edges, and then don't force. Never force. It's so easy to. I was just stretching my wrists this morning, and I was like flattening my fingers out and pushing really hard, and then bringing it to my chest and stuff, and then I suddenly became aware of my
just overstraining it.
Yeah, and I was like, dude,
my flexors.
Yeah, my flexor, my wrist, my forearm, my inside there, and I was like feeling this. It's not painful enough to stop me, but I know now that this is not what's going to make me more flexible.
It's true.
This is going to make me more rigid in the long run.
Yeah.
And it doesn't even feel good. There's some kind of weird pleasure to pain, when it's a small pain.
It's also an egoic accomplishment. It's like I was here. I need to get right back to this level. This is where I'm supposed to be.
It's sometimes it's the ego takes the protractor out when you're doing yoga. It wants that leg to come up at the same spot again and all that shit. So
and if it's not there, you're digressing in your practice.
Yeah.
But it's not how it works. It's so funny, man.
But I mean, to wrap it all up in a cool bow a little bit, like death is like this, like the thought of death, the perpetuation of the reality of death in our daily lives. Let's say, like we were talking about the samurai with Sam Finn.
Yeah.
Love that fucking podcast, by the way.
It's a great podcast.
I've been inspired ever since. I'll just leave it at that. But
there's a lot to take from that one.
Well, I mean, I feel like it's the reason why we're talking about death now, to be honest, in one way or another. But like there is this grounding reality, less bullshit. It's more real. There's less. It's like there's all this. Every time we talk about Buddhism, every time I hear about Buddhism and these questions about meditation and stuff like that, it's almost like a meme now. And the Buddha says you don't gain from these practices. You shed. You shed. You take away the things that are not you until whatever is left is you. And there's a really fun thing. This is another side note. And makes me think about death a lot, actually. But there's this weird meditation I'm doing now where I turn my focus inward as much as I can, as intensely as I can, uncomfortably so. I just find it's weird. I find the concept, I find the observer. It takes however long it takes, 5 minutes sometimes, 10 minutes, 20 minutes, I don't know. But once I have a little seat there, ever since ayahuasca, to be fair, it's very quick now. Okay. Ever since, I gotta say, but. It's almost like I try to turn off my awareness, or I try to like really feel, like I almost poke at it. I don't know how to explain it, but I'm just like, it's like a snake eating its own tail. Like it hurts. It feels weird. Pain is not even how to describe it, but it's like a glitch. It's like static. Like I if anyone knows what the fuck I'm talking about, if you're like a meditation expert or like a Kundalini expert or something, I feel like someone should talk to me, because maybe I shouldn't be doing this. But there's something really cool about, like, I go to the source until there's fucking nothing left, and then I just start like trying to do stuff to it. And I really can't even explain myself. But it's
bringing me flashbacks of Vipassana, because I was there exactly where you're talking about. I was in such a state of awareness and silence that I was literally looking at, the best way to describe it in physical terms was like these bubbles of consciousness that I was poking at and manipulating in a sense. And it was actually did more harm than good for me. Like
yeah.
Like, did you ever see Ant-Man?
Yeah.
I never seen it, but there's just one clip my friend showed me. He's like, go to subatomic particle level, and he's just like zooming in, like where time just starts from, And I was there in my meditation, and I was just seeing like these molecules, and then I'm like thinking of Goenka saying, "Don't mix two different practices together, because it could be very dangerous." And I'm like, I wonder what like a mantra would be like right now. And I start repeating these words, and then I almost went into like a fucking what's that word? Like I went psychotic for a second, because like I was in such a state of awareness, and then I created a mantra, and then just everything was spinning, and I got pulled out of it. I like was sweating at that point. Like, fuck, I don't do that. This
is similar to what I'm feeling. I feel like I just skip steps. I go to this really deep layer, and I'm flipping switches, and I shouldn't be.
Okay. Yeah.
But for me, it's like I'm pressing, I'm pushing an off button, but it's like I would die. Or maybe not even. I don't know. It's like you just can't turn it off. So I'm just there going like, ow, ow. It's like it doesn't.
That's crazy.
It doesn't shut off. It's like trying to shut off the sun. Or it's like using electricity to turn off something powered by that electricity. Like it doesn't make sense.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
I think we're talking about similar realms.
But at least it was more visual for you and more like,
well,
I don't know, like you said,
in terms of explaining, it's visual, but in the moment, it was beyond visual. It was just feeling. But like coming back into reality, I was able to piece it together in terms of like a visual sense,
like a dream, sort of like it all smashes together.
But it was not what I'm talking about. It was like way more.
I love how that works. Like it all, like the dreams or like visions, like it consolidates when you wake up.
Yeah,
it's like, oh, that doesn't make sense, so I'm gonna make it make sense.
Yeah,
sort of.
I like that's kind of the picture.
Yeah,
You saw the meme I shared on our Facebook page on Curious Chimps. It's like how my trips feel, and it was like starry nights.
Oh yeah, the Van Gogh, yeah. So
and then
good.
how it is when I explain it is like, oh, there was magic, there was like a moon, there was like
It's like a shitty drawing, and then there's like those like doggo, like those Shibu Inu, like much enlightenment, you know,
like just
stupid,
random thoughts, and that's it, man.
That made
That's
me
for
happy.
everything.
I actually really enjoyed that one.
I was because we've all been there. It's like you come back with all these stories you want to tell everyone, and it slips the fuck away.
It is a bit like a dream because like it just doesn't hold the water that it did. It's like the dream realm, the astral realm, the psychedelic realms. I don't know what to call them exactly, but the water is being held by something that exists in that realm also. So then when you leave that realm, you're in a new world, or the old world. We're in like this world or whatever.
Some world.
We're closed off, you know. We're back to a more narrow view, let's say, and you just can't. You aren't even the thing that you were that experienced that. So you're trying to explain it, but it's like a story of a memory.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's more than that. It's like literally an ant explaining a carnival to another ant.
That's a good point. It's also kind of beyond the senses, or a different, very alien experience.
Because we have no reference points. We have nothing to, like what you hear from most people is like, oh, these geometric patterns, these like light cities, these elves, or these alien type of organic machineries.
I guess we're starting, like,
we're creating a database. We really are.
well, I mean, it's there. That's what there's this girl I speak to, this beautiful woman I met at the teacher training in India, Miriam Shanti. I don't know what to call you. I love you. I hope you listen to these. But
Shout out to Miriam.
Yeah, she's the best. She is. After we met, she went to South America, and she was in Brazil, and she was like with shamans and like learning a lot. She was taking ayahuasca regularly, daily, probably multiple times a day. She's you know how we were talking about being familiar with death, being friends with death. She says she's lovers with death. She's on a whole other fucking existence, you know? And I forgot why I brought her up now. I'm like lost in the character and the explanation.
Related to, I'm not sure.
We'll get there.
Yeah. Well, the memories of returning back and without thought, without remembering it,
Right.
or in different reality or whatever.
So she's in a world that has so much context for these things. There's so much language.
Yes.
Even put into, like, ayahuasca means spirit rope or death rope, etc.
Vine of the Dead.
There's a few ways to translate it, apparently. Also, I read up on it. It's interesting, and that even has many names. And then there's all these other plants, and then these experiences are kind of, I don't want to say ubiquitous, but there is something maybe relatable or general about them, because we're all humans. You know, at the end of the day, we are all experiencing things very differently, but we all have a brain, eyes, hands, etc. Hopefully. We all smell and touch and taste, and so it's like we have these bodies. We share an experience in a very like uncanny, like in a very deep sense, more than we think, maybe because we're just conscious beings, but that's very deep. Let's not go there. So she ends up talking about what she saw, and she'll bring up dwarves, elves, you know, these like what's that word from Star Trek when Picard got taken by the Borg? Locutus of Borg. So he was assimilated just to be able to speak for the Borg.
Okay.
Because they were like a hive mind. Anyway, so imagine like a forest is like this crazy consciousness. So like there's these elf things that are manifestations through us and for us in order to speak to these things that otherwise can't speak for themselves or can't speak to us in the way that we can understand. You know, there's ways to explain it. And what's fun too is that she was describing to me a while ago how there's this oscillation between wanting to even describe the experience and not, because at first it's very addictive to be like, oh, I saw the Vesica Pisces sacred geometry splitting into a sun, and then there was like a Buddha face in the middle, and then someone goes, holy shit, me too. It was like yellow, and he was speaking fucking Spanish for some reason, and it's like, oh my god, we were in the same place. Play off or not, like I feel like For me, it's more like a hope that this is all real. You know, I've had my own experiences, but it can always go deeper, let's say. And I say that with a big smile because I want it to. Yes. And maybe my skepticism fuels that. I don't know. Maybe that's why I don't want to let go of it. But there's obviously a benefit to believing and utilizing, but that's not the point. What I'm saying is there's like it became like a world for them, or a part of the real world for them. And then there was this oscillation, like I said, where it's like, I don't need to share that. The same way I don't need to share like what I had for breakfast. This was a thing for me. I will take what I can from it. And there's a lot of times when sharing it is beneficial. I mean, we're literally sharers. This is what we're doing. So obviously we feel that way. But I don't know. It was interesting to see, just back to the point, that there's a language. She literally used those words. I didn't make that up. She says, I'm lovers with death. I don't exactly. It's like poetic a little bit.
You know what that is, though? That's the same mentality the samurais had. Because she was doing ayahuasca so often, she was coming to terms with her death on a daily basis.
And other people's.
Yeah.
You know, like she said it also, like handling, like people fucking freaking out or falling over or puking and stuff. Like she's like it's kind of death. It's not, but it's like they're having an emotional experience, they're having a physical experience, and she is partaking in the medicine as well, probably, and then helping them. Wow. So it's like another level.
And she's doing ayahuasca probably if she's in Peru or wherever in the Amazon, she's doing it almost on a daily basis at some points, if she's working with shamans, because they're doing ceremonies like over 100 times a year.
Well, she was when she went back home and she reconnected with her family, now kind of being her more true self, and it's beautiful to talk to her. So her story is her story. Maybe we'll get her on one day if she's ever in Canada, or we'll Skype her somehow. Like, she's a fascinating creature.
Nice.
I fucking love that woman.
Wow. Yeah, man. And I've always wondered what a long form ceremony duration would be like a 10-day ayahuasca ceremonies. Like,
yeah, or dieta with just ayahuasca. Like, you're nourished by it. What a different thing. I'll never forget. It always makes me think of salvia. You know, like, you have those acute moments and those crazy trips, and then there's that 1 month where I smoked a little bit of it every day, and it was such a different experience by the time I was finishing up.
Same here. Completely
different.
Yeah. For salvia, I was doing it on a daily for a while. This was years back, and I started really understanding this plant. It was a weird feeling, like I would go in and be like, okay, not today, and I just like brush that away and go to the next stage of that realm. It was very odd, man. I
just farted. I wonder if anyone noticed in the audio.
Well, they don't hear it.
I just in the
video
you're gonna see me lean.
It'd be fucked if it.
You went really deep there, and I wanna keep going. But do you realize that we lean when we fart? Because our bodies are plugging our assholes with gravity.
Yeah, we're just like,
yeah,
like a suction cup.
Like our eyes will pop out if we don't fucking lean. Like, it's like, I can't.
It's just way more effort. You have to really push against resistance, and then here it's
and
like,
then it sneaks out somewhere.
And then it makes that little squeak sound.
Yeah, I love those. Farts. Hey, farts are spiritual too, guys.
Well, that's part of every day. Your
God
ass wants to
is
be on the
in
podcast too.
The sky and in the farts. That's what Paul Selig said, sort of.
He's in everything.
He's in my farts.
Your farts are the word of God. It's definitely true. But
can't take that away from me. That's the truth.
That's why. And I want to go back to a point you were mentioning about worth sharing. And I think the more I do ayahuasca, the less eager I am to share. Or any psychedelic.
It's a dance for me. I don't know where to go with that.
But what I've noticed is that there has to be a moment of buffering, of internalizing what happened first. And
at the very least.
And that's where you'll gain the most benefit. Because if you come out of that space and just word vomit on someone, it might be good. But if they start saying, oh, I did that too, or I saw yellow too, you might have missed the point that you were actually going for in your mind, because you're getting a kind of an echo chamber with somewhere else, and then that person's experience is kind of influencing the way you're interpreting your experience.
Even if they're not like a fellow, like someone else who was there at the ceremony, like you tell a friend or something when you come back, you're there's something cheapening it, because they just won't understand it. Yeah. Whereas if you assimilate it and integrate it,
feel
even
it
a little bit, then you can understand what needs to be said and what really doesn't. Because if it doesn't need to be said, why are you saying it?
That's it.
And somewhere inside, you know that you don't need to be saying it, and you're insulting the experience in a sense and damaging the experience in a sense. You're in a way, I don't know, it's like some part of your psyche is taking it lighter than you should, and you're missing out on some integration. I don't really understand why, but there's something about biting your tongue sometimes. Even when we were given mantras and at the teacher training, they said there's zero reason for you to tell anybody what your mantra is. There's even and then they said it in a very kind of like what I call like a physical spiritual way. They said like the more people you tell, the more energy is lost in the way you can hold the mantra. I don't fucking know what that means, but I just kind of said the same thing.
It kind of makes sense. I find maybe in a sense there's a parallel. When I tell a psychedelic experience to people more and more, I feel like it's losing its meaning to me.
I get it's like it's the wrong kind of repetition. I guess instead of holding it in its true form, in its experiential form, and then just living it and then seeing how it falls into place on its own, maybe also consciously integrating it here and there, but just trying to put it into labels and boxes, suddenly you're cutting off the fat.
Yeah.
And it's not fat, or the fat's good, however you want the metaphor to go. So you're cutting the square to fit the circle every time you open your mouth.
That's interesting, and I think that's it. And it's kind of like what a psychedelic experience is that you're having a direct line, a connection with the divine or with whatever higher consciousness you're tapping into. And then when you bring it back to reality and you share with people, you're giving a third person point of view, like secondhand information. And it's never the true what you experience, because to experience that you would have to be in that state of mind. So it's watered down. That's interesting,
because on some level also you're forming it for the person, like for the audience, in a really deep subconscious, unconscious way. Like you're either going to rant it out and they're not going to understand a goddamn thing, and then that's, we talked about it. But then if that doesn't work and you're like a step ahead of that, then you're catering to them a little, or you're tapering
kind of
off
designing it a little bit.
Designing it. That's a good way of putting it. You're whittling what needs to be said, sort of. I don't know.
But that's where, if you can internalize the experience, kind of like when my last ayahuasca ceremony, when I spoke about it on the podcast, that was after really thinking about and digesting it. And then I'm like, this is the actual lesson I've learned. And I can put it into a story that I remember. That's probably not the actual experience. I remember my painting with the fear, carnival, and the beyond. But that's what I remember seeing, and I formed that into a way that can pass that message onwards.
Maybe that's not bad, but it's like an art form. If someone has to make a thoughtful, functional piece of design, then if you have an audience, or if it needs to be done immediately, the function in this case is transmitting the information. So if you're not forced to like give the rough draft immediately, then you can work on it.
Yes.
And that's not necessarily a bad thing. Maybe you can be more conscious about like, hey, what am I saying this for? How does this benefit this person? Am I just saying this to be cool? I caught myself a couple of times, like a handful, like I'll say a dozen times, because it's a long time now since I did the ceremony, like a good dozen plus times where I just told someone I did ayahuasca, and they didn't need to know that. There's a bunch of times where it was totally justified and it was part of the conversation, and I wanted to give my input and I thought I could enrich their lives.
Yeah.
But there's a couple times when it was just me going, hey, look what I did. Yeah. So, and that's like me against me, just going, what are you doing, bro? Like, and I felt it as soon as I was done. I was like, son of a bitch. And you can't take it back.
No, it's out there. I mean, hey, it's not terrible, but it's
a lesson.
Yeah, it's going into why are you doing this? Unfolding that. Why am I saying this? Is it going to really benefit, or am I saying it to feed my own ego and to give myself a pat on the back through you?
I feel like I'm only even realizing these things and the importance of that because of the ceremony. There's so much that I gained from that ceremony that's not touchable, that's undamageable. It's a wisdom through experience, and it can only be enhanced by going over and over.
What I love about ayahuasca,
that's how I feel,
is it really does feel like a curriculum. Like the next time you go,
it's like the rapé.
Yeah,
there's a starting point. It's just where you are.
Yeah. And now when you do rapé, it's like you kind of it's not the first day at school anymore. You kind of know where to go in a sense.
That I've always felt that way, like that we were talking about like an actual sound, an actual voice manifesting and giving us an information. That's because there's a warmed up muscle there. There's something, a way of interpreting, a way of seeing, a thing we want to see as well. We're starting to give that a story to Rappe. We're starting to say that there's a clarity there, and it's almost like a guilt driven, like, what am I doing wrong now?
What just happened?
I don't know. I wonder if if we're still recording.
Just check. I've never seen that happen before.
Fribble.
Maybe move
It's
the
a
mouse.
verb. A frivolous or foolish person. Fribble.
What time is it?
I don't know. Does it say that? 5:51.
Is it recording?
I don't have the password, so it was recording.
Okay.
At least. You want to just pretend it's recording and keep going?
Yeah, let's do it.
We can always call Tom in and just be like, fix it. But we have you said 6:15. We have like a good 20 minutes left.
Should we tell him?
Yeah, let's just call him in case.
Yeah. Okay. We can edit this out, or we can
Future
get this
Nate,
out. Yeah.
cut this out. Except for the fribble thing. That was cool. Ooh, there's a new word.
Fribble.
Serf.
Okay, let's get
An
to it.
agricultural laborer bound under the feudal system to work on his lord's estate. This is the coolest.
Where are you reading that?
He has like these. His screensaver is like a random dictionary words.
I thought you were just getting into this trance of just defining a word.
No,
I'm like,
bro, it's so cool. Tom.
everyone, we will be right back. We may have some sound technical issues, but we are checking it out. So if this is still recording, I may or may not keep this in. So, hello to everyone listening.
Disabled the screensaver for it.
Every screensaver I've ever seen, by the way.
I have never had a screensaver active on this computer, and then this week for whatever reason,
As long as it's working, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, it should be fine.
Just
We
we
figured we got like a
little-
good 15-20 minutes left, so we may as well make sure that it's working.
Yeah, it looks like it kept recording through that.
Awesome.
Okay.
It won't go
I
off
learned the word fribble because of your screensaver, so happy accident.
Sorry about that.
It's cool. Wait, Todd, we're good for 6:15, right?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Awesome.
All right, see you in 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
And
No prob, Bob.
we're back. So, there you go. Why is there such a fucking delay there?
Oh no, I'm doing it on purpose.
Oh, okay.
Like
Piece of
clap,
shit.
I'll probably be able to clap when you clap. Well, if you go on a beat, I'll find the beat.
But that's the point. You
No,
know,
it's like you try to fake me out. Like
I got you there,
got me so
motherfucker.
good.
You know, I was such a shit disturber in high school when we'd have like an audience clapping at like a fucking.
You were
the
the last
auditorium.
one there?
I'm the one offbeat.
You son of a bitch. You some bitch. I know I've probably said this to you already, okay? And maybe I've even said it on the podcast. But go check out the Justin Timberlake thing on Netflix. It's so cool. You meet all the band members and shit at the beginning, and then you just see this 2-hour show, and it's like the last show that they've been doing for like 2 years, just traveling around the world doing this crazy tour. And they're all so talented, and it's so awesome. And it's Timberlake. It's like good songs. You know the songs. But you meet all the band, and you feel like you just hear it more.
Nice.
Because you know all the pieces, you know where everybody is on stage, and it's a real band, it's real music. But the reason why I bring it up, there's a scene when they're all warming up and doing like there's this pre-show ritual, and they're all doing their thing, and then they all start clapping, but it's like at the speed that you would be clapping, but they're all in unison.
Nice.
Because they're not only all professional
sick.
musicians, they've all been playing together for the last
They
2
know
years.
each other.
Clack, 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 all of them. Like a fucking crowd of people. Tack, 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 tack. Right on time. Tack,
Nice.
tack, tack. It was the creepiest thing I ever saw.
cool, though.
And they didn't have to get in
They're
it.
in sync.
They
man.
just all started all on perfect time. It was
Yeah.
the craziest thing I've ever seen.
deep in sync.
Maybe not the craziest thing I've ever seen.
But
Might be hyperbolic there, but
maybe
like
the top 5,000.
that's it. But you know what I wanted to ask somebody? Top 5,000. That's a good number. I've seen some crazy shit. Speaking of
We
which,
all have.
I'm wondering, like, I want to run my ayahuasca experience through like someone like Miriam Shanti. Like I don't know. She has so many names. Shanti is like her given yoga name, and it means peace, which is so cool.
Beautiful.
It's beautiful. A lot of prayers or things like that, they end saying Om
Shanti, Shanti, Shanti.
Shanti.
Yeah, we do it at the yoga studio sometimes.
It's really cool.
I never knew what it meant.
It just means peace.
Fucking
Peace,
love
peace,
it.
peace.
So you want to run your experience through someone? Like,
Yeah, I have some memory of what I experienced, and the first time, you know what? They blur into one experience a little bit. I have a hard time remembering the second night. I was more like taking it easy. I felt like I went through the fucking ringer.
I have a vision of you in the second night, and you were just sitting upright, like fucking in the music, man. At one point,
Yeah,
you were just in it, and
yeah,
I was
boy.
like, because one of my intentions was for you initially, you know, and
I let something go there, man. I really did.
yeah,
I really did.
wow.
I could really feel the music.
That's
now.
what happened. And when I opened up myself from the trance, and I just see you like in this like meditative with perfect posture, like
Lovely.
going with the fucking music, and I'm like, yeah, Sammy's good. And I went back into my own. And I'm like,
He's okay.
yeah, it was a weird moment, but I'm like, fuck yeah. Like it was just like,
That's nice.
because I just saw you. You were in it, man. You were fucking in it.
I remember that feeling. I
Yeah.
remember just being uplifted by the music, and we've talked about it on the podcast also. Like I'll never forget. Now I have this like superpower, this understanding that I like, that David Goggins, like that 60% is more accessible to me now, because I know I can feel when I'm bullshitting myself and being like, oh, I am tired, and then I go, am I tired? Just check, see what you can do, and it's like, oh wait, I have like fucking 80% more energy than I thought. You know, like it's a.
And I think I need to reconnect with that voice, because I'm losing that a little bit.
That's surprising me, because you're like a very disciplined human.
For, you know, for some things, yes. For other things that I kind of put on the back burner, and I kind of forget what I'm capable of doing, you know, and capable of doing a lot more than I think. And I think I just need to reconnect with that voice. Like, hey man, you can push a little bit more in certain things.
Maybe I'm rubbing off on you a little bit, getting you lazy a little.
Maybe it's good though. Maybe
Yeah,
it's
we're
what I needed.
equalizing each other.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm working a little harder lately, so maybe I'm bringing you down a little, but like it's not a bad thing.
Yeah. Who knows, man? It's good. You can't always be revving the engine at fucking 90%.
I mean, it's gotten you far, dude. I got to play catch up. But at the same time, maybe someone like you sees my demeanor sometimes and goes, hey, he's actually got some chill here and there. You know, like he's got some resolve in the chill. It's not just some fake chill. And then you go, okay, I want to cultivate that. I want some of that. I got some chill, but I need to be fucking burning it on both ends.
I think it's more your presence, your state of mind where you can really be in the moment. And for me, it's always been hard to just surrender to the moment.
That's interesting, because I feel so scattered a lot of times. I mean, you know, since the ayahuasca ceremony, I feel like I have a doorway or a seat now that's so much more available. But when you speak, I feel like you're really listening, especially when I met you, like when we were in the massage course. You were very thoughtful the way you spoke, unless you were fucking taking the piss. I even got mad at you. Remember, like you were just bullshitting left and right.
Oh yeah,
and I was like, bro, I'm gullible. It's not funny. Like I got mad.
I modified that.
Yeah, you were just like, yeah, you got a point. I don't need to piss Sammy off. That's something it's like a superpower I have. I never get mad. So when I do, people feel terrible. And they're like, we have to change for Sammy. And I'm like, it's fine. I just got mad. Like, it's like,
up.
no, you can't anger the Sammy. I'm like, guys, it's something, it kind of bothers me. It happens at work now too. It's like I had such energy. I started training and everything, and I have some bad days. I don't feel like talking to anybody, and they're like, "What's wrong? What's going on?" I'm like, "Just fuck off." Like I'm a human.
Yeah, you can have your ups and downs like anyone else.
Yeah.
But that's funny because I don't know. I feel like there's always this weird calling that you get in your mind that like, fuck, I need to go into like a ceremony soon or something. I need like not a reset, but I need a reminder. And I feel like it's coming. It's always comes in weird times, man. Because like I booked ayahuasca for next month, but 15 minutes. I booked ayahuasca for next month, and it just feels like it was right. Because yes, at a physical level, I emailed them. I said I want to go, but that decision was probably made way before that email was even sent. You know, and now it's just like for sure. The car's driving, and now I'm in the front seat. Like, oh fuck, it's coming up. You know. So
it must be so different for you now. Like you must be so like used to the process, and then some space, and then going deeper, and then some space again, and now you're going back, and it must be different.
I can't explain it, but it's like the observer is so much stronger now, and he's like,
especially after Vipassana.
yeah,
I can't imagine, man.
Yeah,
I've really been trying to meditate more lately, and it's.
I haven't been, to be honest with you, and I've mentioned that before. And maybe ayahuasca will kind of put the needle back on the record, but I feel like it's a necessary thing I need to add back into my practice.
I want everyone on Earth to fucking take 5 minutes when they wake up. Your alarm goes off, even if you're gonna go back to bed, even if you're snoozing, just sit up, take some deep breaths, stretch a little bit, and then sit there for 4 minutes and 50 seconds. Just sit there. Do that every morning.
I think you're setting it even a little bit too high, because I think people 5 minutes to them. I know.
That's bullshit.
Start with 10 deep breaths. Something even smaller.
If you can't do 5 minutes, start with 10 deep breaths. But start with 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Because that's fucking peanuts.
Yeah.
And there's something, I don't want to put a notch in the belt system on meditation, but like people need, like it's going into a relaxation. It's turning off the body like in stages.
Yeah.
And 5 minutes is just cultivating some focus. That's really all you're doing. It's more of a mindfulness practice. You're just sitting there. You don't have to have your back perfectly straight. You don't have to do a chin mudra and chanting a mantra and all this crazy shit. Just focus on your breath. 5 minutes is probably like, I don't know, 300 breaths or something. Count out some breaths. You could play with it, but take 5 minutes and just do nothing. And your patience will be more, your attention will be more, your control over your thoughts and your emotions will be more available. Like just you will be more inside your moment. You will be more present, more available, more able, just because you are less momentum.
Yeah, it's true.
It's fucking 5 minutes.
It's true.
I there's so many times I don't meditate because I want to put that hour in, and I just don't have the time these days.
Maybe that's my resistance, is that I'm so used to meditating for fucking 10 hours a day from Vipassana that now...
I'm sure everybody feels like that when they get out.
And it's like, fuck, I don't have time to do it, but forgetting that 5 minutes is just as effective.
That's the one thing that they maybe don't do that I don't fully agree with. You know, like they give such great advice, perfect advice, I would say. And then they say, go home, pick a spot, 1 hour in the morning, 1 hour in the night, before you go to bed if you want. You know, they give you some tricks, but it's like, fucking do an hour or 2 hours a day. Find other people, do it with them. Like they're trying to build something that you don't quite understand yet, because it's like on some spiritual level. And you have to just feel it to feel it. Like I feel like when I go back to Vipassana, I'm going to feel something familiar that I didn't even realize was missing.
Do you want to go back soon?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Soon might not be the right word, but like if it's in a few months and I can make it happen, fuck, I would love to. I would really love to.
I'm feeling it. I might go in the summer. Or close to it.
I'd rather do that right now than an ayahuasca ceremony. Maybe it's one or the other, or both, or something.
Both was incredible.
That's it. But I just feel like I don't want to do like shrooms or something. Like maybe ecstasy, like MDMA would be fun. I really just want to feel this like potent love. I feel like I can harbor it. I feel like I can hold it now. You know, it can imbue me properly instead of me just kind of like being taken by it or maybe ignoring it and not living it fully. I feel like it would just be fun. I don't know. It'd be fun to have fun.
For me, it was kind of a one and done type of feeling with ecstasy or MDMA. But maybe in the future it'll come back. But at the moment, it's like I saw what it has. It's incredible. Don't get me wrong. It's fucking such powerful medicine if used properly. I don't think I was using it properly, to be honest.
We're all young once. We're all young now still.
Yeah.
I just feel it's the first time in my life I had that, like, I want to try that drug again. I feel like I'm done with so many drugs, and I feel like I have a big respect for a lot of what we would call plant medicines, and I want to experience iboga, even though 80% of my brain is screaming no. I want to go back to ayahuasca.
Yeah.
Vipassana is a different animal, but in a way it isn't, like we talked about.
Oh, it's just a substanceless psychedelic experience.
Exactly. It's just
it's
drawn
no
out
different than ayahuasca.
on the natch. Yeah.
And it's funny because it's like, for those who are afraid of substance or don't want to do substance, I'm like, okay, Vipassana is 10 days, you'll achieve the same state.
Yeah.
But that's a turnoff for a lot of people, which is hilarious.
Well, it shouldn't be. I mean, if you have the right teacher or the right context, like think of it this way. If anyone out there is listening and they feel that way, like, oh, 10 days meditating, like You wake up, you meditate, you go to bed. Essentially, it's intimidating. You eat, obviously, you do other things, but you don't talk to anyone. Like, you do nothing else. It can be intense, but you can just leave. Like, when you take mushrooms,
That's a good point.
you have to like eat to kill the buzz, and then it doesn't go away entirely, and you might not be in the right place.
Yeah.
There, you're surrounded by teachers and staff. You don't have to worry about your food. You're not high. If you leave, you just hop in your car and go, or however you got there. Take the next bus out of there.
It
Whatever.
gives you more power on your side.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Knowing you
sense
have
of
the
control.
abort button in your hand is a really good feeling that some people need, and they might never press it, and they might not press it out of fear, but in that instance, it might be a good thing that they see what they're capable of, or what the benefit is of pushing themselves a little sometimes. And you're not pushing yourself physically, like we were talking about with the wrists before.
Yeah.
You're
leaning into your edges.
Exactly. You're doing it mentally as well.
Yeah. I feel like this is a big commitment for people for 10 days, but I feel like Vipassana is a great prerequisite before doing any type of psychedelic experience.
You're right. It is kind of tough in like society to take that time off, and no one wants to take like their 2 weeks and not go to fucking Barbados or something. Like it's not easy.
But you will get so much work done on yourself.
It's a deep unwinding.
Yeah, and you will learn what it means to observe. And that is an important point that you kind of learn in psychedelics, but kind of more like trial by fire.
You have to, it's like your sanctuary. Like you're trying so hard to find comfort. Yeah. You're stumbling around. The house is on fire now. You're like, where's the sanctuary?
You figure out observe, but sometimes it takes a few trips before you realize, okay, that was fucking terrifying, but maybe if I can just disassociate, it'll go better. But Vipassana is like, you're 10 days there. The only thing you can do is observe.
Yeah. Even in between meditations, you're just in this different state.
Yeah.
I mean, you are in a different, like, the place is just weird.
The whole thing
was a vortex to it.
Dude, my mind, when I went to bed, the work continued on in my dreams. I was having some deep fucking dreams from my childhood just flowing through, and just visions, and I'm like, fuck, am I awake or am I asleep? What the fuck's going on here?
It's like a detox, man. I had very sexually charged dreams. Very potent, very, very, because you're in a different place also, so you're more likely to dream and sleepwalk also if you're a sleepwalker.
That happened to you?
I didn't sleepwalk, no, but I had like I dreamt many nights, it's just 10 days there, but I don't remember all of them, but the sex ones were very vivid. Yeah. Oh, one of them I had sex with Reese Witherspoon. She's
who?
Hot. The girl from Legally Blonde.
Okay, yeah.
She did a movie recently where she's just like walking a trail. Oh, what was it called? It was such a good movie. That's like a drug trip also. That's like Vipassana also.
That movie.
Like the experience that was like kind of documented in the movie. It's a fiction. It's like an acting movie, but like I think she wrote and directed it, and she starred in it, and it was really good because she's just on this trail, just walking, and she was like ill prepared and like figuring it out as she goes, and like people are helping her, and a lot of times she's just alone walking, and like she loses her boot at some point and has to like fucking bloody foot walk like dozens of miles. Yeah, like it's a fucking beautiful, intense movie, and it's kind of soft because there's other movies like that where it gets more horror, more thriller, and they're in trouble and they're gonna die. They might even die at the end of the movie. I don't want to spoil this movie, but it's a softer movie. It has a nice ending.
Nice.
It's really just more focused on the journey.
Nice.
And it's a good depiction. I wish I could fucking remember this now, though. It sucks that I just look up Reese Witherspoon. She hasn't directed a lot of movies,
Damn.
Yeah.
I think that's a wrap.
Probably. We have like maybe a couple minutes left. I can't see the time anywhere.
We'll leave it at that.
Let's do some ohms, man.
Let's fucking do some ohms.
We were going to do it at the beginning, and I forgot.
We're throwing it at the end. If you guys want to join us, listen to our tune and join in. And if you don't, listen to our tune and join in with your minds.
Yeah, boy. Take some deep breaths. Just feel the vibration.
Yeah.
If it means more to you, then let it come in, but just observe the sensation, no matter what.
You know what? If you're not going to meditate 5 minutes a day, listen to this little segment. And if that's your practice,
on repeat, just
and let that remind you that the present moment is the only moment that exists.
That's deep, bro. That hit me. Let's do it. Oh.
Thank you for listening to this week's episode. If you like what you heard, click the subscribe button below. You can also follow us on social networks such as Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, all under Curious Chimps. You can also check out CuriousChimps.com. You can send us an email, check out blog posts, see when the latest podcast comes out. And until next time, stay curious.